Hi everyone. In last sessions, what we discussed? We discussed the how to deploy the .NET project. So we had a .NET technology. So according to our .NET technology, we are going to deploy our project. So what we did, just we created just we pull that image. So after that, we run that, we executed that images, and we are going to create the our container. So are we going to write it the Docker file? No, we are not going to write it any Docker file. So if you want to write it the Docker file, so we have to learn first few keywords. After that, we can write it our Docker file. So first, also we discuss the how to port mapping each and everything we discuss. After that, we discuss the how to deploy the different technologies application by using of the existing images. So already we pushed that images and we use that images. So we had a one image which is related to that Java technology. So we can say called as a Spring Boot microservices. After that, we had a technology that is called as a .NET. So we deployed one .NET project also. So, uh, so today we are going to discuss first how to write it the Docker file. Before going to the Docker file, we should learn some keyword. So what is the Docker file? Docker file is nothing but which we have the content set of the instruction to build the Docker images. So already we discussed the architecture. So what is the architecture here? You can see here the architecture. In this architecture, Docker file. Docker file is nothing but we are going to set up the some instruction and we are going to build that instruction into the images. So in that Docker file, what we had, so we have the some instruction and our application code. Why we are going to use application code? Because we want to deploy our application. So that's why we are going to use it here, the Docker files. So Docker file contain set of the instruction to build the Docker images. So suppose I want to write it the some Docker file, then we can use this like so Docker file. Then we have the standardization process to every Docker file. So any of the kind of the application, so you can see the file name is a Docker file. D is a capital, F is a small letter. We have the two words. You can use this Docker file name. Suppose I created one application. Suppose I'm developing one Java application. At that time, I want require the one Docker file. Then what we have to do? We have to write it the that we have to create the file name. That file name is a Docker file. So we can say called as a here is a file name is a Docker file. So default name is a Docker file. So you can give anything. Suppose I want to give another name. You can like file, but it is easy to identification to that file. So that's why we are going to use the Docker file. So how to write it the Docker file? So we have to use some keyword. By using of the some keywords, we can write it our Docker file. To write the Docker file, we will have the some keywords. That name we can say called as a from maintainer. Then we can say called as a run. Then CMD. Then copy. Then you can see here these are the below keywords. You can see here the from maintainer, run, CMD, copy, add, then working directory, expose, and entry point. What is the from? From keyword is nothing but it is used to the specific base image required to run our application. Suppose whenever we first we are going to discuss here the first keyword that's called the from keyword. So what is the from keyword? From keyword is nothing but we can say the it is used to the specific base image. What is the specific base image? Suppose my application is developed in the Java. Then what we can say? So my base image is required Java application. Suppose I require the Tomcat to deploy my application on the server. So you can use the multiple from keyword. So I'm going to mention this is my specific base image which we require to run our application. So like examples, So we can call as a open JDK. So that is called as a Java development kit. Suppose if I am having of example, if I am having of Python, then we can call as a Python. You can see here the Python, then Tomcat, MySQL, Node. So whenever we write it the Docker file, so suppose I'm developing the Java application, at that time what we have to write it first? From open JDK, then colon 70. That is my Java application version. So you can mention like this. So what is the use of the from keyword? So it is used to the specific base image. Specific base image is nothing but I'm going to write it the Docker file. That Docker file I'm going to convert it into the images. So that's why we can say call it the from keyword is the important, and we can say call it the it is a mandatory. So this is the from keyword. After that, we have the maintainer. What is the maintainer? Maintainer is nothing but suppose whenever we writing any of the code, suppose I'm writing one function to log in the application. Suppose I'm going to develop the one another features like search feature, something like this. So whenever we writing the method, at that time we can comment this code. What is the purpose of this code? So like this. So whatever whenever we writing of the Docker file, so you want to maintain the that file, who who is going to create it, that file, who is updating that file. So that's why we are going to use the maintainer. Maintainer is nothing but, so we can suppose that whenever we writing the Docker file, that file, who will be writing this file, that file is name is called as a author file. So we can say call as a maintainer. So maintainer is nothing but it is a optional. Whenever you write it the Docker file, if you want to add your you are the author for this file, then you can use the maintainer keyword. So maintainer is used to the specific who is author of this Docker file. So this is the optional Docker file. Suppose I'm going to like this. Suppose I'm going to use the maintainer. So whenever you're using of the maintainer, so example, how we can write it the maintainer. So you can write it like this. So each and everything it is in the capital letter. So we use the maintainer. So maintainer is nothing but it is a author. So suppose I'm going to say like this. So dev, and this is my organization email. So at the rate gmail.com. You can mention anything like this. Okay. So if you have the organization name, so you can maintain like this your Docker file. So it is going to define the this is the person author of this Docker file. So whenever we write it, whenever we update that file, so you can add the maintainer keyword. By using of the maintainer keyword, we can represent the your file author person. So this is the maintainer keyword. Maintainer keyword is nothing but it is a optional. After that, we have the next keyword that is called as a run keyword. So so this is the optional. So we can say called as a so maintainer is nothing but just you have to remember maintainer. Maintainer is nothing but who are going to maintain this Docker file. That person is going to represent it her or his name. So we can say called as a maintainer. So next keyword is called as a run keyword. So what is the run keyword? Run keyword is used to the specific instruction. We can say called as a specific instruction. What is the specific instruction? It is we can say called as a command to execute at a time of the Docker image creation. When we are going to Docker image creation, so whenever we write it the Docker file, you can see here. So whenever we write it the Docker file, that Docker file, whenever we going to build it, then we are going to create it the Docker images. At that time, we can use the run keyword. So run keyword is used to the specific instruction to execute at a time of the Docker image creation. When we are going to create it, the Docker images. So once we Docker file is built, then we are going to create it the Docker images. At that time, we can use the run keyword. For example, suppose I want to run my particular the repository URL. then what we can say called as a git clone my repository URL. Suppose I want to Maven clean packages, then we can use the run Maven clean packages. So this is the we can call as an example. So what is the Maven? Maven is nothing but it is an automatic build tool. So there is a no required to add the jar files, whatever we required the whenever we developing our software. So that time what we are going to use it instead of the jar files, we are going to use the dependency. So we can call as a Maven. So Maven is nothing but suppose I want to. So it is a automatic build tool. We can say we will discuss in upcoming session. So what is the use of the run keyword? So suppose I want to git clone that repository URL, then you can use that git clone. Then whenever I'm going to image creation, then we can run this git clone command. Then we can download the repo URL. Suppose I want to Maven clean packages. So because I'm going to use here the Java, so that's why I'm going to mention here the Maven clean packages. Here you can we have the one note is required here. So whenever we using of the run keyword, so you can see the one note we have here. So that is called as a we can specify the multiple run instruction in the Docker file. All those will execute in the sequential manner. What is the sequential manner? Suppose I'm having a 5 run keyword. One is a run git clone. Second one is a run maven packages up to 5 keywords. So then whenever we executing this Docker file execution, then it will be read line by line here. So that is we can call as a sequential manner. So it is going to execute the in sequence manner. First, second, third, fourth, five. So this is we can call as a run keyword. So what is the run keyword? Run keyword is nothing but run keyword is used to the specific instruction. We can call it as a what is the instruction? It is nothing but command to execute at a time of the Docker image creation. That is called as a run keyword. After that, we have the next keyword. So what is the next keyword? So it is important also, we can say. So these are the keywords very important whenever we writing of the Docker file. So we should know this keyword first. After that, we can eligible to write it the Docker file. We can say called it because if we know the basic language of the coding pattern, syntax is all the stuffs, then we can write it the we can build the logic from our side. Otherwise, can we build the logic? No, we cannot write it the code. No, because we don't know the basics of the coding. We don't know the what is the syntax of the main method. Then what is the syntax of the print statement? What is the statement of the functional statements? So this is the basics we should know before going to write it any program. Same like this, before writing up the Docker file, we should know these 9 keyword. So next command is called as a next keyword is called as a CMD. What is the CMD? CMD keyword is used to the specific instruction. Same, we are going to use same specific instruction, but which are required to execute at a time of the Docker container creations. So when we are going to use this CMD command, so run keyword whenever we are going to image creation at that time we are going to use the run keyword. But CMD command we are going to use same we are going to execute some specific instruction which are required to execute at the time of the Docker container creation. When we are going to create the Docker creation, so once our build is images, that image we are going to execute it, then we are going to create the container. So at that time you can use the CMD keyword. Suppose I want to my application files. So this is we can say called as a example. You can see here the so CMD. So these are the Java extension, Java jar application jar. This is my application jar files, so we can use at that time CMD command. So if you require the multiple CMD instruction in the Docker file, Docker will execute only latest CMD instruction. Sorry, not a latest, last CMD instruction. So earlier, what was that? So run is nothing but it is going to execute sequential manner. But here, if you write the multiple CMD instruction in the Docker file, that Docker file execute only last CMD instruction. Suppose I use the two CMD instruction here. So first one is a Java jar application jar. Second one is a Python application UI. So which one we are going to execute it here? So last one. Which one is the last one? So Python application PY. This is the instruction we are going to execute it. So this is our CMD keyword. After that, next keyword is called as a copy keyword. So you can see called as a copy keyword. So what is the copy keyword? Copy keyword is nothing but you can see called as a copy is nothing but we are going to copy something like this. So copy instruction is used to the copy the files from the source to the destination. So what is the my source file? Suppose who is the host and who is the destination here. So you can see here. First, whenever we see here the any container, so already we discussed here the port mapping. How we can go with port mapping here? So we have the two machines here. One is a Docker, which we have the host machine, and another one is a container machine. So do we know the container machines? We don't know the container machines where we are going to running it. But we know the container is somewhere we are running the machine. So that container we can call as a one machine, and host machine is called as a we can call as a our machine. So host is a Linux machine, also container also is a Linux machine. So host machine is nothing but we can call as a source file, and destination file is nothing but it is a container machine. So whatever we want to copy that one, so we can copy from host machine to the destination file. Which file is destination? Suppose if we have the our application. So what was the my application name? App.jar. Earlier, what was the my machine application name here? So we already used here the one CMD. So you can see the Java jar application jar. So at a local level, at a host level, where is my app jar file? So target app jar, then we have the home directory, then user directory, then we have the application directory. So in that we have the our application. So I'm going to copy that one. So from the target directory to the this directory. Suppose I'm going to another uh, another file copied here. So one target application here. So I'm going to another copy file here. So this is the application war file. So this is the application war file. I'm going to copy it where user bin tomcat app web app. Web app is nothing but so you if you aware about of the Java development, then you know that what is the web app, then what is the tomcat. Just leave it. So just we are going to copy the from the source file to the destination file. Who is the host file here? So, sorry, what is the host file? Host machine is nothing but it is a source, and destination file is nothing but it is a container machine. So this is the container machine. So we are going to copy the my particular of the jar files from the host machine to the container machine. Then you can use the copy keyword here. Suppose here if we have the multiple files, then you can copy it here. So you can call it the copy keyword here. So next keyword is called as the add keyword. So what is the add here? So add is nothing but add instruction is used to the copy the files from source to the destination. So we are going to say like this same copy instruction is same function, and what is the add function? We have the same function. So add instruction is used to the copy the files from the source to the destination. So what is the difference in between? So copy is nothing but we are going to copy the application code from the host machine to the container machine. But here, suppose I want to copy the particular source. You can consider the particular of the source to the destination. So you can add it. Suppose this is my particular of the file, then we can add the particular of the source file to the destination file. So if we have the copy keyword, then you can use the same like this, but it is used to the copy keyword. Copy keyword is used to the application, copy the application code from the host machine to the container machine. But whenever we using of the add keyword, then what we can say, so it is copy the files from the source to the destination. We are going to copy the files here. So we can say call it a, so same we have the copy keyword and add keyword. So we are going to copy the one source to the destination. So that is called as a add keyword. So after that, we have the work directory. So what is the work directory? Work directory is nothing but work directory instruction is used to the set or change the working directory in the container machine. We can call it the, suppose if I'm having a one file, so I want to, suppose I want to change the particular of the file directory, then what we can say call is a, we can set or change the working directory in the container machine. So what is the use here? So I will show you just a minute. So what is the working directory here? Working directory is nothing but it is one instruction. So what is the keyword? Keyword is nothing but we are going to instruct in my Docker file. So that Docker file, whenever we instruct it, then we are going to execute our Docker file. Then it will be execute, it will be run according to our instruction wise. Same. So you can see called as a work directory. Work directory instruction is used to the set or change working directory in the container machines. Where is my container machine? Container machine is nothing but we have the separate machine. That separate machines we can say called as a container machine. So what is the copy? So you can see called as a copy keyword. I will show you examples here. So first one is a copy. You can see here the copy, the target, then my application name here, then user, then working directory, then application. But you can see here the where is my copy? I'm going to copy that one. So I'm going to use the, this is the working directory user application. So I'm copied from the source to the destination. So this is my working directory. So I'm going to represent it. This is my working directory. So that is called as the work directory. So it is going to represent it the, this is my current directory. So we can call it the working directory. So this is the our, we have the working directory keyword. Then next, what is the expose? So expose is a our keyword. So expose is an instruction is used to the specific application is running on which port number. So while we're developing the application, who are going to decide it? This is my application port number. So developer will be the decided. This is my port number. So I want to execute. Suppose I want to execute that application. Suppose I want to running. I want to execute that application, particular the application on that particular the port number. Then we can use the expose keyword. So while we're writing up the Docker file, so I want to use this port number to specific port number to execute my application, to running my application on the particular the port number. So expose is nothing but expose instruction is used to the specific application is running on which port number. Suppose I'm going to decide at the 8080. On that port number, we are going to expose our application. So we can call it the expose keyword. By using of the expose keyword, we cannot change the application port number. It is a just provide the information people who are the reading our Docker file. So here you can see called as a one note is here. So don't be confusion. So while we writing the application, so at that time we have the different port number. Already we discussed the port mapping. In that port mapping, we know that how to port mapping from the host machine to the container machine. You can see here the by using of the expose the keyword, we cannot change the application port number. Suppose I use the 80. The can we change the application port number by using of the export keyword? No, we cannot change the our application port number by using of the export keyword. But it is a just provide the information to people who are the reading our Docker file. So that's why we can say called as a export keyword. So it is going to say called as a 8080. This is my port number, application port number. You can read it and you can execute it. So this is my expose keyword. So last one is a entry point. So what is the entry point? So entry point is nothing but it is used to the execute the instruction when container is getting created. So when we are going to use it this entry point, so we are going to the add the instruction here when container is getting created. At that time we can use the entry point. So what is the entry point? Entry point is nothing but it is used to the execute the instruction when container is getting created. So when our container is created, whenever we execute our image, then our container is going to create it. So that is called as an entry point. So at that time, once we container is created, then whenever we executed our instruction when container is getting created, then we can use the entry point. So you can see here the one note is also is here. You can see also which keyword also we are going to use it in the container whenever our container is going to create a CMD. Same like this, you can see here the so this is my entry point keyword. So entry point keyword is nothing but it is used to the execute the instruction when container is getting created. So we are going to add the instruction whenever our container is going to create it. So entry point is used to the alternate for the CMD instruction. So both are the we have the same. Suppose we have the CMD instruction. This is my CMD instruction. So what was that CMD instruction? So this is my application jar. You have to run it. So I'm going to instruct my Docker file. Same like this. Instead of that CMD, you can use the entry point. In that entry point, just you have to mention the Java jar, then application dot jar. So, but you can see here the we have the here the array function like this. Array represent not a function, array representation because we have the multiple keywords. So that's why we are going to use here the array. But can we see here the array here in the CMD? No, we cannot see the CMD array, but in the entry point we can see the array here. That is called as a Java, then dash jar, then application jar. These are the application we are going to instruct my Docker file. You have to execute it. So whatever we require the softwares to execute my application, we are going to represent in our Docker file. That Docker file, whenever we execute it, whenever we build that, then we are going to create the one image. So that image, whenever we execute it, whenever we run it, then we are going to create the container. So we can call it the this is the our Dockerization process. So we have the 9 keywords. So how many keywords in our Docker file? So one is a from. From is a first we have the we are going to the base images. Whenever we are going to create the base images, at that time we require the from keyword. After that, maintainer. What is the maintainer? Maintainer is nothing but we are going to represent the who is the author of the this Docker file. So that's why we are going to use the maintainer keyword. Then we have the run keyword. What is the run keyword? It is the specific instruction to execute the my Docker file at the time of the Docker image creation. Whenever we have the Docker image creation, then we can use the run keyword. But can we use the run keyword the multiple times? Yes, we can use the run keyword in multiple times. So that is we can call as a run keyword. But whenever we use the run keyword, it will be execute the sequential manner. After that, we have the CMD keyword. So what is the CMD keyword? So at that time, container creation, we are going to use the CMD keyword. Suppose if we have the multiple keywords, CMD keyword, then which keyword we are going to execute it? Last one we are going to execute it. All keywords are we going to execute it? No, we are not going to execute it. After that, we have the copy. Copy is nothing but suppose I want to copy the particular the file from the source to the destination, we can use it. Same, we have the add, but copy is nothing but we have the small difference here. So application code we can copy from that application files. We can so call the application code from the host machine to the container machine. But add keyword is nothing but it is going to add particular of the files to the particular of the destination files. So I'm going to copy the source file to the destination file. Then we can call it a copy keyword. After that, we after that we have the working directory. So work directory is nothing but where we are in the represented. So we are going to represent it. This is my working directory. We are going to execute it. So that is called as a work directory keyword. After that, we have the expose keyword. Expose keyword is nothing but by using of the expose keyword, we are going to execute it, my instruction. This is my application. We are going to execute it on this particular of the port number. So this is we can say called as the expose keyword. After that, entry point. What is the entry point? So it is same like this of the CMD, but you can use CMD. Otherwise, you can use the entry point. By using of the entry point, we are going to create the instruction at the time of the Docker, container creation. So we can call it the entry point. Whenever we use the entry point, you can see like this the array, same like this. So this is the we have the 9 keyword, so which we should know while we writing up the Docker file. Then we are the eligible to write it the Docker files, we can say, because we are not we are not aware of these 9 keywords, then how we can write it our Docker files here. So that's why we should know the what is the purpose of this 9 keywords here. Once we know that, then we can use the same by using of the same keyword and we can execute our Docker file. Once we Docker file is executed, then we are going to create the image. Then we are going to execute my image. Then we are going to create the container. So this is the we have. After that, we have the one difference between the CMD and entry point. So there is a small difference, not a small difference. We can say call it a major difference. So it is okay. We can use CMD, either we can use the entry point. But what is the difference between the CMD and entry point? CMD instruction we can override while we creating the Docker container creation. So CMD is the instruction we can override while we creating the Docker container. Entry point is instruction we cannot the override. So that is the difference. So CMD is nothing but suppose if I'm having a one Docker file. In that Docker file, I used here the Java jars application jar. Suppose instead of that, I want to use the Python. Then what we have to do? We have to use the CMD and then we are going to override that value. Suppose I don't want to override, override that value. So I want to use the some different requirement here, then you can use the entry point. Entry point is nothing but we cannot override the value. So that is called as a entry point. So there is a major difference here to CMD and entry point. CMD instruction we can override while we creating the Docker container, but entry point we cannot override here. So this is the we can say called as the difference between the CMD and entry point. It is a very important whenever we go with any interview, then it will be asked that type of the question. So what is the difference between the CMD and entry point keywords? Then you have to say while we creating of the Docker creation, then we are going to override the value, my Docker value, then that is called as a CMD. Suppose I don't want to override the value in my file, then we can use the entry point here. So this is the difference between the CMD and entry point here. Then after that, I want to write it the one Docker file. Then how we can write it the one Docker file here. So you can see here the this is the Docker login. I'm going to use it here. So I'm going to access my here. So ls. So we don't have any file here. So Docker ps. So can we see any container here? We cannot see any container. So I'm going to see the images. Yes, we have the some images here. So I don't want to anything in my Docker in my current machine. Then what we have to do? So we are going to delete it, each and everything. So which command we are going to use it? So we are going to use the Docker prune, sorry, Docker system prune -a. Then what will be considered here? We are going to delete it. We are going to delete it the stock container, then unused images and build caches. So stock container we are going to delete it, unused images we are going to delete it, and build caches. Which command we are going to use it here? Docker system prune. So what is the prune? Prune is nothing but we are going to delete it each and everything. Then you can see here, yes, I want to delete it each and everything. So you can see here the doc. You can see here the my space also is reclaimed here. You can see here the 237.6 MB here. So I'm going to see here the images. So can we see the any image here? No, we cannot see any image here. Can we see any container here? No. This is my running container command. So I want to check the stopped container here. Can we see? No, we cannot see anything here. So I'm going to write it the one simple Docker file here. Then how we can write it the simple Docker file? Where we are in the Linux virtual machine. But usually where we have to write it the Docker file, we have to write it the file in our application. I will show in upcoming session. Just we are going to write it the one simple Docker file. So what? So I'm going to say called as a VI. What is the VI? I'm going to create it the one Docker file. So what is the default file name here? Docker file. So we can see here the then I'm going to use here the so from. What is the from? From is nothing but we can call as a it is a going to created the one images, but this is the base image. So I'm going to mention like this Ubuntu. What is Ubuntu? I'm going to say Ubuntu. I'm going to run my some commands here. So from where I'm going to use it from Ubuntu, I'm going to use here the maintainer keyword. So what is the maintainer keyword? It is going to represent the our uh, who are who is the owner of my Docker file here. So I'm going to say like this. This is my dev@gmail.com. You can say like this here. At least you should one space here in between the two keywords. So this is the keyword and this is the value you can consider here. But at least one space is required here. Suppose if I are not use this any space here, then it will be get an error here. So at least one space. There is a no indentations problem here. So you can use multiple spaces, but at least minimum one space, maximum space you can add any. So this is the we are going to say called as a maintainer. So after that, what we are going to say? So I'm going to use here the run keyword. So I'm going to use only the capital letter here. Then echo. What is the echo? I'm going to print it something like this. So I'm going to print it like hello from instruction. So you can say like this. Otherwise, hello from dev one. Okay. So after that, run keyword, then echo. Then after that, what we are going to say, hello from dev02. Can we use here the two keywords here? Yes, we can use the two run keywords. Let me add here the one quote, sorry, single quote. I'm going to add it here. I missed here. After that, what we are going to say, I'm going to use here the CMD. What is the CMD? CMD is nothing but we are going to use this instruction at a Docker container creations. After that, echo. So what is the echo? Echo is nothing but we can say called the I'm going to print it this message from the CMD01. Again, I'm going to use here the CMD. I don't want to space in between here. Let's see. I'm not sure why it is not placed. Sorry, I don't want to space here. Okay. After that CMD, then what we can say, this is my echo. Okay. Then hi. Can we use here the two keywords here? CMD02. Can we use the two times CMD keyword? Yes, we can use it. But which one it is going to consideration? Last one it is going to consider here. So this is my simple Docker file here. I'm going to WQ. So window quit. So you can see here the, can we see the my Docker file here? Yes, we can see here the Docker file. Then what is the cat command? We are going to print it. My Docker file is create my Docker file data, not here. Yes, we have the data. After that, what we have to do? So we have to, once we created this Docker file, then we are going to execute that Docker file. So, but you can see here the this is the Docker file. So how we can build that Docker file? Are we going to use any images here? No. First, we are going to build that Docker file. Then how we can build that file? So Docker, then you have to use the build keyword. Then we can suppose the tag name. What is the T is nothing but it is a tag name. I'm saying here the image 0. So we can suppose the image 01. I'm going to create the image. Then what is the dot? Don't miss the dot. Dot is nothing but it is the current working directory. So I'm going, you can see here, already we discussed here the architecture of Docker. Dockerization. So Docker file is going to create it here. After that, what we are going to, we are going to build that Docker file. So what is the command here? So Docker build -t, then my image name. So we are going to decide it, what is the, what will be the image name. Then we are going to add the dot here. Dot is nothing but it is, we can say the current working directory. So after that, you can see here the, we are going to build my images here. You can see here the, yes, we are going to build my images here. You can see here the, so when our run command is going to execute it, so whenever our image going to creation, at that time run command is executed. So you can see here the from Docker, this is keyword we are added here. So we added one instruction in our Docker file. So first one is the from, then run. First one is the echo hello from the dev01. So when we are going to execute the run keyword, so while we creation of the Docker images at that time, we are going to execute our run keyword. After that, can we see here the CMD keyword? No, we cannot see here the CMD keyword because CMD keyword, when we are going to execute it, we are going to execute this instruction at the Docker container creation. When our Docker container creation here, so once our image is executed, then we are going to create the Docker images here. So I'm going to execute. I'm going to run that images. So what is the normal command here? Docker run, then my image name. What is my image name here? So image, then 01. So you can see here the Docker run image. You can see here the hi from CMD02. Can we see here the CMD1? No, we cannot see because last one we can see only. So that's why we can see here the hi from CMD02. So you can see here the Docker PS. Can we see here the Docker container? No. Docker container we cannot see because there is no running Docker container because we run the normal command. Once our Docker container is created, then it will be shutting down here because we used here the normal command. Suppose if we are in the detached mode, then we can see the running container. So already we know that how we can run it the detached mode. After that, I want to check the my top container. Then what is the Docker ps-a? You can see here that this is my Docker container. So this is my stop Docker container. So we write it here the simple Docker file. So in upcoming session, first we will write the Spring Boot Docker file. So I want to deploy the Spring Boot Docker application. So I want to deploy the Spring Boot microservice application. Then we have to write it the one Docker file. Then we are going to deploy that Docker file also. So after that, we will see the how to write it for the .NET application Docker file. So this is the we have the Docker file write creation process here. So I think that's it for today.